Welcome back, Giants fans. Today I'll be answering some community page questions from you guys for those who asked. Now, we're back on this channel for Giants content, which we have not seen in a while. It was a pain in the ass to run two channels, honestly, and I feel like YouTube does not push out content when you don't post as often, so obviously it's a lot easier to post on one channel than two. So we will be back here. I'll use Giants Mania as a backup account, but I'll post everything on here from now on. Sorry for the misunderstanding, I guess you can say. But anyway, so today we'll be answering questions, but I want to get into some news real quickly. So Saquon Barkley, this was the big one yesterday, was activated off the PUP. Fantastic news, of course. There was questions of whether he'll play week 1. I always thought he was going to, but there were questions about it. We still don't know what type of workload he'll get, but it's looking very likely that he'll be active for week 1. He looks healthy out there. I saw some videos, I'm sure you guys did as well, that the Giants posted, so that's definitely some great news. The Giants released the outside linebacker Ryan Anderson from the Washington football team who they got this offseason. When I went back and watched them, you guys know whenever the Giants sign somebody, I go back and I make a highlight film for them. I go back and watch some of them. And quite honestly, Ryan Anderson did not impress me too much. So I was like, well, I'd be surprised if he makes the team, but he got cut pretty early. I think he got cut due to injuries, which is, not fair to the player, but that's also not like a surprise to me. So it is what it is. And the Giants actually released some of their new uniforms. They released an away uniform where the pants were completely white. There was one stripe going down on the side. I actually like the way they look a lot. I'll try and post a picture in here of how the uniforms look now for you guys who have not seen yet. But that's pretty much it for the news that's gone on since I last talked to you guys. But anyway, let's get into it. Hopefully you guys enjoy. If you did not ask a question this time, make sure next time if you want to get into it, I usually post in the community page. I'll try to do this one more time before the season starts, so there will be one more video coming up soon. So let's get into it. The first question from FlyMulaman27. Once again, if I mispronounce any names, my apologies there, but you're going to post more regularly, I hate saying that word, regularly, with the season coming up. Personally, I think you're the best Giants news channel on YouTube. Well, many would disagree, but I appreciate you for that. But anyway, yeah, I do plan on it. The problem is right now that NFL Game Pass, the whole coaches film and all 22 thing, I made videos for you guys every Tuesday or Wednesday last year or the last 2 years, 2 or 3 years, whatever it's been, of going over some of the coaches' film and some of the stuff we don't see on the broadcast. But right now they don't have that, so I'm not sure. Obviously, I plan on doing game reactions. I will probably do game previews. Not sure what else I'm going to do, but I'll probably think of something. If the coaches' film thing is not figured out, I'll probably think of something else to do. But yeah, if you want to have any, leave in the comments any ideas you may have for me to do during the week if the coaches' film thing is not resolved, but hopefully it will be. Next from Rashawn Hagens, 2 questions. How do you feel about the 3 retirements in a week? Also, do you see our defense being ranked, or how do you see our defense, or where do you see our defense being ranked this year? I can't read very well, I'm sorry. The 3 retirements, not really a big deal to me. I mean, it happens. I mean, it's not like the Giants lost any very key pieces to the team. I think the biggest one was Zach Fulton. I thought he had a chance to start, but obviously his body couldn't really put up with it, so it's not really a big thing for me. There's some former players that are saying that the whole Joe Judge experiment's not going to work out. And of course, Kelvin Benjamin had his, stuff to say about Joe Judge. I'm not concerned about it personally. I just think it's people that are old or, just don't want to put up with it anymore, and people that weren't really guaranteed the starting job, and people that are not happy about it. So I really don't think it says a lot about Joe Judge. I think it's more of just an individual player type thing. I know that 3 or 4 retirements is a lot, but, still it's just more of a coincidence than anything for me. If it turns into more, then I guess we'll talk about that in the future, but I don't expect it to get too out of hand. Now, if a player that's actually a very good player on this team, let's say James Bradbury retired tomorrow, I would have something to say about that. I'd be very concerned, but until something like that happens, it's not really a big deal to me. The defense. All right, so the Giants defense is, it's a part of the team I feel good about. I will say that. The secondary, I have no questions about, really. Of course, Adoree Jackson's health is probably the main thing. Xavier McKinney, of course, hopefully he's healthy. I think he has a great year coming up. But, the linebacking core is not, outside of Blake Martinez, there's not much you can rely on there. So, obviously, Blake has to stay healthy. He has for the majority of his career, of course. The defensive line, outside linebackers, you have good players there, solid players. Some are better than others. Of course, Leonard Williams is one of the better ones in the league. And then you have Dexter Lawrence, who's very good at what he does. So, there's guys that are good at what they do. I think Danny Shelton will have a good year for this team, of course. I shouldn't say of course, but I do think he has a good year. But the outside linebacking, that whole core for the Giants, I mean, there's a lot of decent to pretty good players. One guy has to step up. I think Ojulari has a chance to do that. Lorenzo Carter, I mean, I'm tired of saying it every year. I just want to see it happen now. But yeah, hopefully we see someone step up there. But in terms of like where they finish this year, I think they'll be around top 10. I would say somewhere from 10 to 15. Anything better than that would be phenomenal. If this team had an alpha pass rusher, I'd feel much better about them. But like, I just don't know how great of a pass rush unit this will be. If you expect Leonard Williams to get back-to-back 11 sack years, I would say that's kind of unrealistic. Of course, sacks like fluctuate every year. So if Leonard Williams had 5 or 6 sacks this year, it would not shock me. Of course, getting 11.5 last year, whatever the number was, 11.5, that was phenomenal, but it's very tough to replicate, so I don't see that happening. Someone else has to step up. You basically can't rely on Leonard Williams to do what he did last year in the sack department, so somebody else has to step up, whether that is Ojulari, Lorenzo Carter, O'Shane Zimenez maybe, or someone like that, Afadi Adenabo, who I actually like. We'll find out. But yeah, I feel good. I think there'll be a above average defense. There'll be somewhere from above average to really good. So I feel fine about that unit. It basically comes down to the offense. We know how it goes with the Giants this year, but I do feel good about their defense here in 2021. Next question from H Fork Productions. The Giants offensive line scares me. I think it scares a lot of us, honestly. I have a gut feeling that it's not going to be good this year and severely limit the offensive production. What are your thoughts, and what can be done? Or who could we sign to gel this unit? Okay, so I don't think you can make one signing to kind of like fix everything. I do like Austin Ryder, the former Chiefs center. I think the Giants brought him in at one point, didn't sign him, but I think that's something that could help this team. If you want to move Nick Gates to right guard and put Ryder at center, his natural position, that's an idea, of course. Who else is out there? I think DJ Fluker got released recently, a former Giant. Kelechi Osemele still out there. I've always been a fan of his, but he can't stay healthy. He used to be an All-Pro for the Raiders, but yeah, I don't see that happening, so I'm not going to mention that one. But what are my thoughts about the offensive line right now? It's concerning. I do think, it's one of the parts of this team that can really drag everything down. And I do think Daniel Jones can mask a lot of that if he plays well this year, but if they don't block for him and he turns the ball over, then it's not going to be it's going to be a terrible combination. I'll put it that way. So, I think the offensive line has potential. That's a scary word because we use it all the time, and it's definitely not a sure thing. Nothing's a sure thing, but using potential as a reason to believe in your offensive line is not exactly where you want to go. Now, I've said before, I personally believe that Andrew Thomas has a phenomenal year. I think he'll be, borderline I was going to say all-star, Pro Bowler. I think he'll be a borderline Pro Bowler or somewhere around there. He might even make it. We'll find out. I think he has a great year. Of course, the guards with Will Hernandez and Shane Lemieux, I don't know how to feel about that. I think Will Hernandez is fine. Shane Lemieux has a lot, he definitely has to get a lot better because last year he was, wasn't unplayable, but he looked so bad at some points, so he has to get better, be more consistent. I think there is potential there with Shane Lemieux. So I like the way he pulls. I like him in the run blocking department, but like the whole pass blocking thing did not go well for him last year, as we know. Nick Gates, had an average year last year, better than we expected, I think. He definitely can get a little better. That would help this team a lot. And as for Matt Parrott, Nate Solder, I don't have any expectations for Nate Solder. I've always said if he gets in there this year, it's probably not a good thing because that means either one of the young offensive tackles, Parrott or Thomas, is underperforming or they get injured. I don't expect them. I don't think the Giants are going into this year wanting to play Nate Solder. He's just there for insurance. So I don't really have any expectations for Nate Solder. He'll be what he is, average at best, but, hopefully he's fine. Hopefully he's playable. For Matt Parrott, I do have some, confidence in him. It's not Andrew Thomas level confidence, but I do think he'll have a pretty good year. Definitely showed potential last year. He would get beat outside too much last year. That was the thing I noticed at least. He didn't get beat inside, which is definitely a good thing. He'd rather get beat outside than inside as a tackle, but that's something he has to kind of shore up there. Maybe he has to get out of his stance quicker. I have no idea. I'm not an offensive line coach, but hopefully they fix that problem this year. But overall, my confidence level out of 10 for this Giants offensive line is probably a 4. It's not good. So hopefully I'm wrong, though. The Giants are putting a lot of confidence in the offensive line group. If they play like they did last year, it'll be a failure, but we're hoping that these young guys get better. It just, depends if they do or not. We'll find out pretty quickly, I think, if that's the case. And by the way, they do play some good pass rushes the first couple weeks. The Denver Broncos have some really good players, obviously. Bradley Chubb and Von Miller, they're going to be back. And, of course, Washington with Chase Young and Daron Payne, Montez Sweat. It's going to be a lot of competition there the first couple weeks. Some good competition. Next question from Dave Campbell. Who do you think catches DJ's first touchdown pass? And you can't say the Broncos defense. You guys know me so well, it kind of warms my heart. But no, I probably would not have said that anyway. I definitely hope that's not the case. If I had to guess who's catching the first touchdown pass, you know what? I thought about it for a second. I'm going Evan Engram. I know that might be crazy. I think he caught the first one. Was it last year or two years ago? I think he caught the first one 2 years ago in Dallas, so it's happened before, I think. But I'm going Evan Engram. He's had a great camp so far. Hopefully he stays healthy, of course, but I'm going to go Evan Engram. I mean, I could be wrong, of course. This is kind of taking a shot in the dark, but I'll go with that. Next from Ray Sosa, even though he's not getting much attention, how many sacks do you think Azeez Ojulari will have as a rookie? Keep up the great work, Mike. Thank you. So yeah, how many sacks will he get? I think, it's hard to expect 10 plus from a second round rookie. If he gets that, that's phenomenal. But being realistic about it, I could see somewhere from 5 to 7. I think that'd be a good step in the right direction for Azeez. I think he will get the playing time. I definitely think that. Of course, the Giants coaching staff, they like Lorenzo Carter. They signed Fadi Adenabo for a reason. Those are the two main competition, right? Those are the two main guys that will be competition for playing time for Ojulari. But I think Ojulari will play at least 50% of the snaps. I see him playing more than that, honestly, and it probably will increase as the year goes on if he plays well. So I think 5 to 7 is a pretty good projection for him. If you want me to make an exact guess, I will say Ojulari has 6.5 sacks as a rookie. That's what I'll go with. And if he does get that, I think that's a successful rookie season. Obviously, it's not all about sacks. If he plays the run terribly, that would not be good, but hopefully he has a good all-around year. And I will take 6.5 sacks from Azeez Ojulari if he can get it. Next from Brian Tantillo. Hopefully I pronounced that one right. In your opinion, what do the Giants have to do this year for Daniel Jones and Jason Garrett to keep their jobs in 2022? The simple answer is make the playoffs, but I will put some context on that. If the Giants make the playoffs the same way they did back in 2016, where it's solely because of the defense, then that might be a problem because, the Giants have enough offensive talent with the weapons they have now to at least be a top half offense in the league. And if they don't reach that, then the Giants ownership may not look at that as a good thing, of course. So I think if they have a really down offensive year, but still make the playoffs somehow, Jason Garrett might be out of a job, but if they make the playoffs, I think Daniel Jones is safe regardless. He'll buy himself another year, of course. But if they really just underperform both of those guys, like if Jason Garrett and Daniel Jones both underperform, let's say they have a below average to really bad year, both of them. First off, if Jason Garrett really sucks this year, he's gone by like week 4 or 5. I've said that before. I think Freddie Kitchens comes in right away, kind of just takes over play calling duty if Jason Garrett does not do well the first month. Like if Jason Garrett was shockingly fired after the week 2 or 3, wouldn't be too shocking. I'm going to say, I don't think it'd be the most shocking thing in the world. I think for any coach on this staff, he has by far the shortest leash. So unless someone wants to fight Joe Judge like Mark Colombo last year, we'll find out. But I still think Jason Garrett has a very short leash, and we might see Freddie Kitchens end the year as the offensive coordinator. That's in mind for a future bowl prediction video, by the way. But for Daniel Jones, if he has a below average to bad year, I think he's probably gone because you would have to think if Daniel Jones sucks, the team probably doesn't make the playoffs. Dave Gettleman's probably out of a job, and then Joe Judge is not tied to Daniel Jones in any way. Now, Joe Judge has backed up Daniel Jones at any point he can. He says the right things about him, all the right things, but he's not tied to him. He did not draft him. So he might, Joe Judge might look for a new quarterback. The Giants have 2 first-round picks next year, Chicago and their own. So they may look to move up in the draft. They also got I think they got a pick from Miami too, I think. I'm pretty sure when they traded back for Ojulari. I could be wrong. I have to look into that. But they have enough draft assets next year to move up in the draft if they really like a quarterback. So basically, make the playoffs is number 1. If they make the playoffs and have a down offensive year, Jason Garrett's probably gone, but Daniel Jones stays. And if they both have a bad year, then they're probably both gone, I would have to guess. Next from O-Dog. I remember O-Dog was Owen Wilson's name. Owen Wilson, wait, is that the actor? There's an actor, Owen Wilson, but there's also Owen Daniels. Owen Daniels was a tight end on the Texans. His nickname was O-Dog back when I first got into football. But anyway, what's happening with Kyle Rudolph? He's been quiet this camp. You put quiet. I always do that same thing. Every time I try to write quiet, I have to actually sit there and write it out because I always screw that up. But anyway, he's been quiet in camp. All right, so he has not really participated so far. I believe that right now, currently, the only Giants on on PUP of the physically unable to perform list are Kyle Rudolph and Aaron Robinson, the third-round rookie cornerback. So he has not practiced yet technically. He is there in person, just learning things mentally, but he physically cannot perform right now, obviously. And based on what the beat writers are saying, he doesn't look that great right now. I still hold out some hope. We are still over a month away, believe it or not, from the first game of the season. Sorry to bring you guys down. But, we're still over a month away technically. Hopefully that's enough time for him to get there and be healthy enough to play. If he misses the first couple weeks, I guess that's not the most surprising thing, but I do hope he's there. And with Levine Toilolo out now, I would definitely hope he's there because the Giants can't afford to lose two of their starting tight ends. Well, not starting, but they can't afford to lose two of their tight ends that would be on the 53-man roster. So, if I had to guess, I'm still 50-50 on Rudolph. I kind of lean towards he will play, but I genuinely have no idea. We'll find out how he heals, of course, but he's coming off the surgery, so, But based on what the writers are saying, the people that cover this team, so far it has not been very optimistic, but as we sit here, once again, we're still pretty far away, so there is a chance he gets out there in time, but we'll find out. From Nate the Great, 722, do you think Saquon will be ready for week 1? Hell yeah, I think so. I think he'll play. I could be wrong, but I think he plays. Next from D Katisa. I definitely pronounced that one wrong. Who do you think will have more of an immediate impact on the team this year? Azeez Ojulari, Kadarius Toney, or Xavier McKinney? My guess is McKinney based on what he showed last year and what's been coming out of training camp. I do agree with you. I think that if I had to pick from one of those three guys, I think McKinney has a big year. I've said that before. I think he has a very nice year for this team. Of course, they have two other really good safeties in Jabril Peppers and Logan Ryan. They will play a lot. But I think McKinney might be like their main guy. I think by the end of the year, McKinney will be the best safety on the Giants. Maybe that's a hot take. I have no idea. But that's what I think, at least. For Ojulari, we talked about him before. I think he'll have a pretty solid rookie year, but we can't expect too much from a second-round rookie. And Kadarius Toney, getting off to a slow start, of course. Now he's back. I don't know what type of role he'll have for this team. They've talked about Sterling Shepard playing the slots. I would think that Kadarius Toney plays the slot more often, but we'll find out. I think there's a chance that Kadarius Toney has a really good year. We'll find out, of course, but just the most confidence I have in one of these guys for this year is Xavier McKinney, so I'll pick him as well. That's a good pick by you. From Elena, you're lucky I like you or else I would not read these questions. This isn't even a question. It's a statement. It's a dumb statement. It's not true. Mikey, 2 nights. I'm just here to make it known that the Jets will do better than the Giants this year. We actually have a built-in bet about that, so hopefully I do win it. Right now, the Jets win total is 6, I believe. The Giants is 7. That's too close for comfort, of course, but as a Giants fan, I'd feel very bad if Joe Douglas was able to rebuild his team in 2 years and already do better than the Giants in like 3 or 4 years. That would be a pretty bad look. So hopefully that's not the case, but I do think the Giants will be better than the Jets in 2021. That's not saying much, but I will still take it. Next from Kurt Schwarber, I think. Looks like Kyle Schwarber, the new Red Sox, but worries about the O-line going into this year. Any good free agents we could still sign, afford for the O-line? If the O-line is below average, what do you see them going record-wise? All right, so we answered some of that before about who they could sign. I offered Austin Reiter. I like Kalichi Osemele. I have a soft spot for him, but probably not going to happen once again. But yeah, I'm worried about it. I talked about it before, but if they are below average, what do I see them going record-wise? They would have to be carried by their defense, of course, and Daniel Jones would have to overcome a bad offensive line, which is a lot to ask for. So if their offensive line is bad, we're probably looking at like 6, 7, 8 wins around there. If they get to 8 and possibly make a wild card, that's great. We'll take it. But 6 or 7 wins, you're probably not getting into the playoffs. So they have enough talent to overcome an offensive line and win some games, but they can't be a great team if their offensive line stinks. Let's be honest. They're probably not going to win 10, 11, 12 games if the offensive line's below average. I don't see that happening, so, I could be wrong, but I just don't see that being the case. And some free agents for next year, I think you asked about. I looked it up before. I have a list here of guys. Teron Armstead, he's the left tackle for the Saints, been very solid for a long time. I mean, they probably will re-sign him. They just signed Ryan Ramczyk, actually, so I don't know if they can afford that, but maybe he will be a free agent. That's a left tackle, though. We have one, hopefully, in Andrew Thomas. Wyatt Teller, that'd be a good one from the Browns. He's a great player. I think he plays right guard, so that would be an awesome pickup if the Giants can make that happen. But the Browns, I feel like, have a good cap situation. They'll probably keep him. Brandon Sheriff, of course, with the Washington football team. under a franchise tag right now, but that'd be an awesome right guard. Once again, the Giants can go out there and get, hopefully, Orlando Brown, left tackle, right tackle, wants to be a left tackle. Giants hopefully have one. Dwayne Brown, left tackle, 37 years old. It's pretty much it. Brian O'Neill with the Vikings. He's pretty good, but I don't really see him leaving, or he's a left tackle anyway, I believe, so that's probably not going to happen either. So, yeah, no like big names. David DeCastro is still on here, and he's technically still out there, but he's either going to retire or probably not go to the Giants either way. So, the Giants probably can't afford that. I think the Giants right now have the second least cap space in the NFL. I forget what their cap number is, but it's like somewhere around $2 million, so it's definitely not a lot. That's definitely concerning, but yeah, overall, my offensive line expectations, I told you guys, it's like a 4 out of 10 confidence-wise. If they play better than that, then that's probably a good news for the playoffs. But if not, then that might be not the best thing. So we'll find out what the offensive line does, but definitely a concern. And last from Nick Young, my fellow Nets fan. I like Nick. But what would be your long-term plan if Daniel Jones is average this year? Not good, not bad, just meh. That definitely could happen. Would you stick it out for a 4th year and hope for a miracle, or would you move on and try for someone with more upside? I know part of the question depends on how the team as a whole performs, so let's just say DJ isn't exactly holding the team back, but you can tell a good quarterback would really take us to the next level. First off, shout out to me for not stumbling and reading that whole paragraph, but second of all, so if Daniel Jones is meh this year, which could happen. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility. I'm a guy, and you guys have known this ever since Daniel Jones was drafted. Part of my reasons I was so unhappy about it was because I did not view Daniel Jones as a quarterback that had much upside. There are things to like about Daniel Jones. He's very fast in a straight line. He can throw the ball well deep, but doesn't bring much else to the table. He's a fantastic leader, works hard, and there are things to like, but there's definitely not as much upside with Daniel Jones as compared to a perfect example here, Josh Allen. That's why I hate the Josh Allen comparison to Daniel Jones, because Josh Allen's upside is up here and Daniel Jones is probably somewhere in the middle. So that's why I don't like the comparison. But if Daniel Jones had an average year, like a meh year, let's say statistically it was a little better than last year. Let's say in a 17-game season, Daniel Jones puts up 3,000 yards, 18 touchdowns, 12 picks, and like 4 fumbles lost. That's like a meh year. Probably not that good. If he put that up, I'm totally fine moving on. Like, Daniel Jones would have to prove to me this year he's the guy. If he's not proving to me that he's the guy, I'm fine moving on. I've never really bought into the whole Daniel Jones is a top 10 quarterback thing anyway. I hope to be proven wrong about that. But I don't know who you can replace him with. Like, I feel like, if you move on from Daniel Jones, who are you going to get in the draft? Like, once again, you'd have to probably trade up, because I don't see the Giants or Bears being absolutely dreadful this year. I guess the Bears have a chance to be bad, but their roster is also really good, so I don't know about that. I wouldn't bank on it. So the Giants would have to trade their first-round pick, the Bears' first-round pick, and probably some other picks to move up in the draft and get their guy. Of course, Spencer Rattler from Oklahoma is very interesting. We'll find out how he plays this year, but I don't want to go that route of let's get a Kirk Cousins or someone like that. I don't feel like going that route because, he might move on with the Vikings after this year or something. So I don't want to go that route. Like, if the Giants are going to go all in on a quarterback, at least take someone in the draft. Like, don't just go out there and say let's take a league average starter. Like, I don't want to go the Derek Carr or Kirk Cousins route. I feel like you're kind of just it's basically the same thing Daniel Jones could be. So I don't want that to happen, but hopefully this question doesn't have to be answered in a year. I hope that when we look back on this, Daniel Jones is in fact a franchise quarterback and plays out of his mind and puts up numbers that, not put him in the MVP conversation, but definitely make him to be a franchise quarterback. That's what I want to happen, but once again, I always try to be realistic with myself. Some people don't like it, some do. But yeah, I would not trade for a Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins type guy. But that is why, when you see the rumors of Aaron Rodgers or Deshaun Watson out there for trade, that's why I always feel the Giants should at least give them a call, because why not? The Giants could be an elite quarterback away from being a legit Super Bowl contender. With Daniel Jones right now, with hopes of him being good in year 3, they are a playoff contender, but if they had Aaron Rodgers or a Deshaun Watson not suspended, they would be a legit Super Bowl contender. Now, I know Rodgers is 37 years old, but I think Rodgers will play at a high level for at least another 3 years. I don't see Aaron Rodgers just completely falling off a cliff. I think he'll be a good quarterback for at least another 3-4 years. So that's the way I feel about it. Rodgers says he wants to play into his 40s. Deshaun Watson is a very attractive piece if he does not get suspended. I don't know if the allegations will prove him guilty or what. We'll find out what happens. But yeah, I would definitely take Deshaun Watson over Daniel Jones right now. I'm not crazy, but it all depends on his legal situation. So Once again, hopefully we don't have to worry about it, but if I had to guess about the quarterback situation, if Daniel Jones is meh, the Giants, like that's just my opinion, by the way. The Giants would probably keep him if he was meh, because unless it's like terrible, I don't see them moving on, because I don't think John Mara wants to go that route. But I guess it's possible if they did get a new GM. I have no idea. We're thinking too far ahead here. I got to get through 2021 first, but it's an interesting thought, interesting question. But if he plays average, I think he stays. It just depends if they make the playoffs and if Daniel Jones is holding them back. We'll find out how it goes. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Once again, I'll do questions right before the season starts, probably a week before. I'll post in the community page, and then I'll probably post it a few days before the season actually starts. I have some other Giants content coming up. I have the bowl predictions, the schedule prediction game by game, probably some other stuff coming up. I'll think of stuff to do, but hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll talk to you guys next time.